St. Louis, Missouri.
Carbondale, Illinois.
Pardon?
Carbondale,
St. Louis,
Two groups.
Missouri.
Oh, so you're all from a different...
Yeah.
Two groups.
Two groups. Okay.
Yeah.
Carbondale, Illinois,
Yep.
and St. Louis.
Yep.
It's a little ways from you. But we wanted, just for the St. Louis folks, we're opening a large community in St. Louis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually in a probationary status right now. We actually have a founding director, and they're working to get the first people to come in to live in the homes. So it should be really up and running in about a few months. Sometimes
Great.
it takes a long time to have a community birth, as we said. And our large community here in Mobile, where you'll be going, yeah, there's Well, we've been here since 1974. And the L'Arche started in 1964 in a place called Trolly in France by a Canadian. His name is Jean Vanier. And Jean Vanier was a military officer in the Navy of England and also Canada. But he decided after about 8-9 years as a military officer that that wasn't what he felt God was calling him to. But he didn't know what. But he just said, you know, if I'm going to try to live the gospel, and Jesus' message, he says, I don't think this is the place where God wants me. So he left and he went.
It's not on yet.
Not
We're
yet.
going to wait a second.
So quickly what he did is he went to college in Paris. He got a doctorate in philosophy. And while he was there, he had befriended a Dominican priest who was transferred after he knew John. He was also in Paris, but he was transferred to a little town called Trolly, about an hour and a half from Paris. And what it was a small little village, and in that village there was we would say an institution that housed 30 men with developmental disabilities. He said it was terrible. You would go into that institution and it was chaos. And he said, this isn't the way to teach. This isn't the way to treat human beings. Because they were just sort of, you would say, just warehousing them. He said, this is cruel. And it's punishable. Meaning that feeling that people feel that they're being punished. But not in a way that they were being locked up or anything. It's that they were within the institution. The government would come in and feed them every day, 3 meals a day. There was a director, and then there was a caretaker and a guard that they had. And then they would take these men for a walk for about an hour through the village, 1 hour a day, and then they'd have to go back to the institution. And that was it. That's all they had. And so this priest would go in and kind of talk to them about Jesus and the gospel, these stories. And he said, sometimes he would get real quiet. And he said that the men seemed to be listening, and then he'd leave, and he said, oh, but this is just horrible. So he was telling Jean Vanier this, who was finishing up getting his doctorate in Paris. And so when John finished, he did go to visit him, but then he went to Canada to teach. But while he was there, he corresponded with the Dominican priest. His name was Père Thomas. And he said, I'll come and visit again. And so he got permission to leave after just 1 semester teaching at the university. He went there. And so they began to talk about this problem. And the board, I think it was the board president of that institution, or the board of directors, wanted them to visit these 2 institutions in Paris. One that had, I think, around 60 women, and another had 60 men. And they went to visit him, to visit those 2 institutions. And again, John describes it as just being horrible. It was just warehousing people. And so what happened was they went back to Trolli, which again, it's about an hour and a half from Paris. And so the priest and Jean Vanier were talking again, and so John said, I don't know what to do. And the priest said, I don't either, but why don't we just pray about it? So Jean went to the church, or off by himself, and he spent a good while just in prayer and trying to discern what to do. So the short story of this is that he eventually agreed to say, I would take 2 people to come and live with me. You know, and his father was the Governor General of Canada. So his family had some means. John didn't have a lot of money in that, so they were able to pull some money to his family, and they bought this little house in Trolli, and they called it L'Arche. And L'Arche is a French word meaning the ark. So a place of safety and a place of refuge. And so, but 2 people who came to live with them, the government agreed on an experimental basis for him to do this. And these 2 people came from Paris, the Vail Institution, where it had 60 men. 2 men agreed to come. And they came to, and that's how it started in Troy in 1964. And then what happened after that, people in India heard about this. Now, the people in the village in Trolli, they would help him. They fixed John. They had, I believe, a wood-burning stove pump, and they had the toilet facilities were outside. So he really started very humble, very small beginnings. And the next people in India heard about this. And so they asked John if he would come and talk to them. How did you do that? What, you know, they wanted to do something there for people with developmental disabilities. Because pretty much all of that time, all over the world, people were just housed in institutions. In the United States, we had institutions. Very often, physicians would just tell parents, you know, if your child is severely handicapped at birth, they would put them in institutions at birth. So many, many people in the United States were that, but not all, but many. And that's really how they were cared for, were in institutions. Well, in any case, what happened then, John went to India and talked to them and said, well, you have to have a board of directors. And what happened with the institution, I should have mentioned this earlier, what happened with the institution in Trolli, eventually they asked John to become the director of that, which he agreed to do, but he also said, if I'm going to be the director, I want to be the board president, because he really wanted to de-institutionalize all those men. So eventually, he was able to get smaller other houses and get all those men out of that institution, those 30 men. That's really how it started. People at that time in the 60s, you know, the hippie movement, and a lot of youth were out there. A lot of people wanted to dedicate, give a couple of years of doing it, hearing about this, what was happening in Trolli, these young people in Paris, people in France, in Canada heard about it. And they would come and spend a year or 2 years, whatever they could do, just to live with the people, to give them a home. That was the point John wanted. He wanted to give them a home environment so that they could come and just live in a home. And so, again, about 2 or 3 years later, they heard about it in India, and that's when he went to India. So that was very interesting, because India is primarily Muslims and Hindus. Christians are a very small minority in India. So what had happened was you ended up in India, you had Hindus, Muslims, Christians all living in the same home, which is just unheard of in India, to have those three religion denominations all living in one place. So that was very interesting. You go from France, which is very Christian Catholic even, and then to go to India, the next place is this country, you know, with Hindus, Muslims, and a very small minority of Christians. So that's really were the small beginnings. So today, if you go flash forward today, we're in about almost 40 countries with about 138 communities worldwide. And you'll see a little bit of that on the video. The video is a little outdated because it doesn't speak as many countries and communities that we have today. But so then we came to, in Mobile, it was mentioned that it was founded in 1974. That was 10 years after the beginning of L'Arche. In the world, with Jean Vanier with that one home. Today, we have 3 regions in the United States. We have the western and then the central region, of which Mobile is part of, and then the eastern region. Canada has about 26, 27 communities. We have 15, 16 now. We have one forming in Atlanta. That's in taking roots. We have one in California, in Orange County, and then in Spokane, and Seattle, and Portland. We have in Tacoma, Seattle, Portland, and then Orange County. And then in the United States, in this central region, the closest one to us is Jacksonville. So that's about 400 miles away. And well, Atlanta now will be, they're about 300, aren't they? 250? Yeah. And then we go all the way up to Chicago, and Clinton, Iowa, Kansas City, Missouri, and now St. Louis.
So what's the total number in the U.S.?
Well, that's, I said about 16,
Wow.
with a couple in formation.
And, well, the St. Louis one, is that in the city of St. Louis, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can get you that address too, of the founding director. So if anybody, how many are from St. Louis?
Well.
Oh, wow. Quite a group. Yeah, so we'd love to, I'll get that while you're here for this week. So that's kind of the primary reason for L'Arche is, as I mentioned earlier, is to create a home where people come and live with people together as a family. That's the primary purpose. And then with that comes the caring of people. And then many, which we'll say, which you'll visit while you're here, is the activity center that we have here in Mobile. Marcel is in the activity center. About 17 other people with disabilities. And we have also, we have 19 in our community. And then we have about 3 or 4 come to the day community, that where you will be part of the time that you're here. You know. So Marcel, how long have you been with L'Arche?
Well, I've been on it.
Is it 5 years already? 5 years?
Five,
5?
4 years.
4-ish, right?
4 years.
So his mom lives here, and he has his brother, David.
The day came down.
When did he come to visit you? When did David come? Was it yesterday or the day before?
Day
Day. So he had a nice visit with his brother, and then his mom would come often and visit with him and take him
all
out.
the time.
All the time. And then I asked him, I said, Marcel, you have such a nice shirt. Where did you get this nice shirt? And who got it for you?
Shannon?
Sharon. That's the person they're
Shannon
coordinating.
Min.
And then he was cooked
God's
together.
name.
Sharon Smith. And she's one of our coordinators in the house that he lives in. And,
And lost my bill.
right.
My house done
And
there.
you went shopping the other day. Did you go with her, or did she surprise you?
She passed me.
Uh-huh.
She passed me and told me that did outside the door, me and he outside getting shut down.
What else did she buy?
Shot.
Socks. She's got new socks on. What else?
Why now, dude?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's it.
Woo.
So he's ready now. Where else are you going today? Where do you think you and I are going to go after this? Where do you like to?
Miami.
Where?
Miami.
I will tell you, but where do you like to go? Where do you like to go to eat something? Did you want to go eat something yesterday?
Yeah.
Where did you want to go? Do you remember?
Hey, guys.
Do you want me to surprise you with
Bad guy.
where?
Bad guy.
Five Guys?
Yep.
St. Louis.
Five guys.
Five Guys burgers and fries.
Better I can see.
Well, that's good. We'll see, okay? But we got something, another surprise in for you.
What?
Surprise, can't tell you.
If I told you, as they said, you'll have to tell them when they come and visit you, okay? Tell them what you do in the activity center. What do you do?
Whoa.
You make what?
Can't.
Makes the canvases they paint on canvases. And very often, what they also do is then they frame them and they give. We have fundraisers. We have a big football banquet here.
Third football. Thank you.
Yeah, you were at the football banquet this year.
I would go to it.
You do go to it, and
I need to go to it.
we always have a coach from Alabama and a coach from Auburn that come. And you're.
I'm about to go in.
That's right. And you're in Alabama, and that's like a prayer service.
Didn't I be on?
And football is like a prayer service, right?
Where else you this out?
That's right. So this year, I think Les Miles came. This year. I was in California.
Where
My
else
daughter's
you this
graduation.
out?
And then we have the marathon.
Yeah.
And what do you make for the marathon? What do you put around their neck? Come across the finish line. Make those. You'll have to show them when you get done this week, right?
Yeah.
They give them a medallion. Every
Yeah,
runner, they have about
medallion.
800 to 1,000 runners.
Oh,
Every
God.
one that comes across, one of our people present them with a medallion around their neck, just as they come across the finish line. It's really kind of a
Anybody wins.
everybody wins, right?
Better win.
So that's a big fundraiser for us as well. We have to raise about a third of our money fundraising. About a third of it comes from grants we have to write every year, and then about a third from federal and state government.
Then
What?
win.
What are you going to pass
You
those
get
out?
it things out.
You want to pass them out?
Yeah.
Okay.
About now.
Yeah, well, we're going to show that video too. Why don't we give it to them right after the video, okay? We want you to see the video as well. So what I'd like you to do is see the video.
See the video. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller?
Watch out.
More and more stuff here so you can see it.
Watch out.